Hello, welcome to the Chronicles of Yesteryear. I'm Unbound Sage. Today we're talking about Lady Xoc, the consort of Yaxchilin. And so the first thing we need to know is, is she Mayan? Is she Aztec? What's the difference? Well, the Mayan Empire is older. The Aztec Empire was about 200 years, from the 1300s to like 1550 when Cortez came over and conquered it for Spain. And the Mayan has been around for 2000 since 2000 BC. So so she's part of the Mayan. I believe she's between 700 and 800 AD, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so she's Mayan, right? That's an important distinction. This faction does cover both, but in the case of history, she is a Mayan character. For the Mayan characters, here's a map of where. I imagine this is where the big people are, right? Obviously, it's in a different language. But if we look here, Yaxchilin is right here. I just realized this. You guys probably don't know where this is in the world. So let's go to Google Maps and I'll show you. So here we are, Google Maps. Let's start at the United States and I'll show you where it is from here. Actually, I guess the game is from the UK. We'll start at the UK. I'll be right back. So here's Worthing. This is Fateless HQ. Right, this is the city it's in. You zoom out, you'll see United Kingdoms. Go across the ocean, you'll see Canada. Go down, you'll see United States. Go down, you'll see Mexico. And you see the border between Mexico and Guatemala. This part here is a river makes this border. And if you look here, there is a horseshoe part of this river. Zoom in here. And this is the archaeological zone of Yaxchilin. And so this river here is the Usumacinta River, right? Makes a cool little, almost like a peninsula type thing. And this is where they settled, right? So, to kind of give you a better context, this is kind of like the Mayan Empire, kind of this upper, kind of like here, I think. This is like the upper Central America, where, at the end of Mexico. This is where the Mayans were. So let's go back and we'll keep talking about them. Okay, yep, so this is where they were. And then this is a close-up here. So we see the Usumacinta River here again. And if you notice here, these are numbers of buildings. And these buildings are very unique because a leading theory is only 5 of these buildings belong to people. And of those 5, 2 of them belong to women. And building 23 here, which is, highlighted for us, this was Lady Xoc's house. So you can see here, I see the number 44. So I imagine maybe that's the highest I see here. So of 44 buildings, only 5 were kind of owned by people. The rest were owned by supernatural beings. And Lady Xoc was one of these 5. So that's a big deal. And one of the major indicators of this was the lintels that were here. And if you don't know what a lintel is, this is a lintel. And so what they would do is nobility would hire people to do art on these. And so from the art, we learned that Lady Xoc had a noble lineage, and she was also buried here with her name inscribed on her bones. So it makes archaeologists' life pretty easy when you have the genealogy right here with the bones of the person you're looking at sketched in, right? Kind of easy mode. So we knew that because of that, house or structure 23 was probably her home, and lintel 23, because they're all named as well by number. Lintel 23 in that house had her genealogy, right? And so if we go here, this is lintel 24. This starts to tell the story of why Lady Xoc was so important. So this here is Xoc. This here is the king. This is King Shield Jaguar, a dope name worthy of a king. And here we see Lady Xoc doing a ceremony. And so something that's important is, we know that human sacrifice was a part of their culture. It was not as big as the Aztecs. Aztecs were really into it. But blood was sacred. It was a way to connect you to the spirit world. And so what we see here is... Oops. I tried to zoom in on it. I cannot zoom in. That makes sense. This is a PowerPoint. This is a rope. And so what she did, which is absolutely nutty, is she took an obsidian knife and pierced her tongue, and then ran barbed wire through her tongue to as a bloodletting ritual. That's absolutely brutal. And the idea was the blood along with the pain would cause hysteria and allow you to talk to the gods. So I imagine a lot of blood was shed from her tongue. And that leads us to the next lintel, 25. This is lintel 25. We have Lady Xoc here, and this is a vision serpent. Now, it's a two-headed vision serpent. I think we see here, this is some god of war. And we can see here that this is the founder, right? And I didn't know, I say we can see. This is what the people tell me when I read about it. We have the god of war here. And we have the founder of Yaxchilin, right? The founder of the civilization. Something I forgot to mention earlier is that the Mayan Empire was not united. The Aztecs were, the Mayans were not. They were a bunch of city-states, so this was the founder of the city-state that she's from. And so, it worked. I guess piercing your tongue and running barbed wire through it makes you see gods. Because here we go. Yeah, there it is. When you think of vision serpent, you might think of like Quetzalcoatl. He's a serpent, maybe he's a vision serpent, maybe you find him in this way. But Quetzalcoatl is a Aztec god, and we're talking about the Mayans, right? So it's very confusing. I know they have very similar cultures. I couldn't tell you the difference before I did the research. But yeah, so we're talking about a vision serpent. It is not Quetzalcoatl. It is this two-headed snake, one with the god, one with the founder, right? And then finally, we have a normal painting here, a normal carving. And this here is Lady Xoc giving a jaguar helmet to Shield Jaguar. Right, so this shows, he was, there was a lot of battles between the city-states of the Mayan Empire. So we see, him probably going to battle. He was a very successful chief, and we see here Lady Xoc preparing him for battle by giving him his jaguar helmet. Jaguar, what meant like it was a symbol of power in this culture. So his name being Shield Jaguar, and him getting a jaguar helmet really showed how strong he was, and he was considered a very successful king from the Mayan standpoint. So to me, this shows her commitment. Like these three show her commitment to communing with the gods on his behalf, right? I also think the nobles did a lot. They did a lot of bloodletting rituals, and I mean, she did an extreme one. It's crazy. So she's very committed. And curiously enough, she's actually wearing headgear that were worn by kings of Yaxchilin. Like certain kings wore this headgear. So it really showed her position and power as well. So I imagine when he got off, she was probably the one in charge, because she was considered the head consort. She was the head wife of the king. All in all, she's a very beloved and effective queen who did good in her kingdom's eyes, and she's a real example of what a committed companion can do for a cause. I'm married to a wonderful woman. You guys can see my ring there. There it is. And I can tell you what, having someone committed to your cause, it's awesome, right? So speaking of personal experience, Lady Xoc's cool. Okay. So let's talk about her kit and see if it matches up with the lore. So here we are, Raven Pyros' site again. Thank you so much, Raven Pyros, for letting me use your site, as always. And we can see here, bloodletting. Makes sense. Cool. Now, something I do have a qualm about is I feel like Sacrificial Rite should be the name of her core, because it's less impressive than the Vision Serpent. The Vision Serpent was like all her sacred rites like led to this. And also another small qualm, and I can zoom in this time. Why is this not a two-headed snake? Why does the snake only have one head? Like this, she only has 3 pictures, like, and we clearly see a two-headed snake, and it has, I mean, I guess it has a human face, like it should, right? But we need a two-headed snake. That's not right. And then lastly, we have the passive, the Mouth of Thorns. Yeah, that makes sense with her running the barbed wire through her tongue is crazy. In the beta, this was like really broken. They're probably going to fix it. But for a feat like that, maybe it should be broken. Maybe we should just keep it like it is. Like I mean, if you run barbed wire through your tongue, I think your character in a game should be like kind of hardcore. Yeah, especially if it's just like the passive. Yeah, Battle of Thorns is crazy. I'm very happy with this. Just switch the name of this, add another head to the serpent. I think the kit makes perfect sense. All right, let's go back. So for future plot points, as a starter, I don't really have a lot to expound upon. I mean, I imagine she's going to be with you from the beginning. You know, and I imagine that she will argue that you should bring balance to the Shattered World in the most straightforward way that shows power. Everything she did was committed to the cause of her people. And so she went to great lengths to do, you know, to show her people's strength and to show their connection to the gods and whatnot. And so I imagine that she values that kind of straightforward, just power through things. And I imagine her not being a fan of heroes that rely on more subtle tactics. I think of, you know, maybe the Lokis, maybe the, you know, the Odins, like the whole Norse mythology, a lot of the, you know, a lot of the Olympian as well, a lot of the Olympians she's probably not a fan of. I mean, a lot of gods, anyone that pretty much doesn't take the straightforward path, she's probably not a fan of. So without it, I don't have a lot to say about her because, you know, I think talking about starters is kind of dangerous. And she doesn't really have a lot of history in terms of what she's done, but she has a lot of personality traits. So I look forward to see what the Fateless team does with this. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. And next up is Ramses as the last starter. And then after that, we'll see where we go from there. Until next time, take it easy, guys. Bye.